Hello and welcome to this special Hatters Sports Report of boys cross country action as the Hatboro-Horsham Hatters take on the Upper Dublin Cardinals. I'm Dylan Stevens, and with me today is the coach of the boys cross country team, DJ Frommel. Coach Frommel, how are you doing today?
Great, nice to see you.
Awesome. So this meet was recorded on September 11th. It was was this the first dual meet of the season for the boys?
Yes, it was.
And then how are you feeling about your team's matchup with Upper Dublin?
I mean, they're definitely the biggest team in our league. They're probably going to be the best team in our league, so it's going to be a good race for us today.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Now let's get to the fields behind the Steinley Stadium for the start of the boys cross country meet. Here we are at the starting line near the practice fields. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the weather. Can you give me context or insight into what weather is good for running? I know it was a hot day that day. Does that affect the way the racers are approaching the race?
Absolutely. I mean, we have to make sure that the kids are staying hydrated leading up to the heat, and then during the race they got to make sure that they're keeping their body as cool as possible. They'll drink a lot of water after the race, so weather definitely impacts their performance.
And then if it's a cooler day, does that change the way you approach practice? Are you prepping if it's a hot day? Are you doing different exercises? Is there a way to kind of adjust or
You
adapt?
adjust based on the weather, but a lot of times it's just a matter of day by day, what can their body handle? Our trainer actually gives us readings if it's too hot outside about what we're allowed to do.
Okay. And then looking here at the racers, we got a couple chunks here. Can you tell us who's out in front there for the Hatters?
For the Hatters, it's our captain, Scott McKenna. He's been our leader all season, so he's typically called our #1 runner. So he's out in the lead pack.
And can you tell me what's his strategy right here up front? He's got one Upper Dublin guy on his shoulder. He's got one kind of in the rearview mirror here. So what is he thinking coming into this stretch of the race here?
So a lot of times we'll tell the kids to just kind of stay with the runners at the beginning part of the race. You can't win the race at the beginning, but you can certainly lose it. So we don't want them to lose contact with the lead runners.
And then if you bust a gut coming out of the front, you're kind of leaving less in the tank for the end. Do you think that Scott is thinking about how much energy he's got left as he's going into the end, or is he focusing right now on just keeping with the front runner here?
I hope he's just keeping with the front runner. You never can tell, but we know that sometimes people can get in their own heads. But I think right now he's just focused on the guy he's running with.
Okay, and now I want to talk about the course. I know that the opposite team will get a chance to walk the course before they compete, but I know that, of course, the Hatboro-Horsham runners know the course well. How does the familiarity with the course impact the way that they perform on the day for both teams?
I think familiarity just helps them with knowing when they can make a move. If they feel good and they know when they can make a move, knowing the course means that they have that knowledge in the back of their head. And
then is there certain equipment between sprinting and running? I know a lot of people know track running or sprinting. Is there different shoes? Is there different equipment, different preparation that goes into something like this, which is distance running?
So typically they do have spikes that are made for cross country, slightly longer spikes in case you get into muddy grass or ground that's a little uneven. So a lot of our runners will wear spikes that are a little bit longer than what you would expect for a track event.
And then we can't quite see the second pack here, but the scoring of cross country relies upon the top 5 finishers, right? So if you're not in the 1 and 2 here, what are you thinking if you're this group right here coming in behind? These look like the kind of...
A lot of times I'm telling our runners just to make sure that they are with that pack, don't lose that pack. If there's someone that's behind, I tell them, hey, you can make this distance up.
Okay. And then coming into the second half of the race here, so Scott and his Upper Dublin competitor here are sticking close. At what point do you think Scott's going to make his move? Is he waiting until he gets onto the track towards the end, or is he going to make a move sooner than that?
So at this point in the race, they're not quite past the 2-mile mark. And so there's still time in the race to make the move. So he's doing the smart thing right now by just kind of sticking on his shoulder.
And is there a drafting kind of feeling to that? Is there really that much of an advantage when it's a one-on-one race like this versus like in a pack?
The person in the lead is dictating the pace, so they are mentally working harder than the person that's sticking on their shoulder.
Right, okay. And so you say mentally, is there a psychological component to that too, when you have it's just you and one other guy? I know they have their pace, they know kind of generally if they have a watch on, right, they know kind of what their pace is, but how much influence do you think psychologically it is on? It looks like Scott's making his move.
Well,
right here.
I think that's it, and I think it can defeat someone if you've been in the lead the entire time and then someone makes the move, and if it's a decisive move, then really it's mentally kind of breaking you because you don't think you can catch up at that point.
And then I want to talk about Scott specifically, or some of our best runners like Lily DeCola. What kind of skill set for a runner, physically or maybe even mentally, contributes better for a distance runner versus a sprinter?
So obviously it's the cardiovascular endurance, but it's also the kind of commitment that it takes. Distance running requires that you're running 6 or 7 days a week, practically 12 months out of the year. So it takes a lot of dedication, but in addition, you have to stay healthy. You have to train your body to go long distances. So here at this point, you can see Scott's made a move with about a little less than 800 meters left in the race. So he'll come onto the track at this point, and we finish on the track.
Okay. And then when you're distance running, you're training, running distance 6-7 days a week for almost all the year. Doesn't that contribute to your muscle groups too? There's a different kind of fast or slow twitch muscles for distance running. Is that something that they build up as well as they're growing?
We work on everything. We work on endurance, we work on speed, because even at the distance race, if it's a close race, you have to have that ability to change gears. So we still work on sprint type skills even for distance runners.
Okay. Scott here coming around the bend. And so coming up, when they get onto the track, that would be the last lap, right? So this would be, here comes Scott.
Yes.
Coming down for the finish. Definitely got a sizable lead. And at this point, he's just pushing, giving it all he's got at this point?
He's pushing as hard as he can, but he understands that he made the right move at the right time. So I think it's a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, there you go. You can see it right there. Plenty of work he had to do to get the win today. And of course, it is a team sport, but it is nice to see that we have some Hatters up here in the front of the pack.
So this is a sophomore, Nick Schell. He's our second runner, our number 2 man. He has put in a ton of work over the last year plus of training with us. So it's good to see him in that position.
Right, yeah, one for the future. Well, that concludes the end of the competition. Let's take a look at the results. As we can see here, Hatboro-Horsham versus Upper Dublin, Scott McKenna in the pole position, 16:11. And then down in 5th place, Nick Schell. That does go into the scoring, right? If you land at 5th. So 17-18 for Nick Schell. We're going to look at the team scores after this. And there it is, Upper Dublin, 22 points. 2nd place, Hatboro-Horsham, 39 points, of course, because there were more runners 2nd, 3rd, and 4th than there were Hatters in that top 5.
Right. Low score wins in cross country.
Gotcha. It's like golf. Well, that will wrap it up for today's production of the Cross Country Meet, recorded on September 11th. For Coach Frommel, I'm Dylan Stevens, reporting for HHTV. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Go Hatters!